Welcome to Unit 4, Episode 4 of the Everyday Bible course. In this final episode of the course, we're going to give you 5 steps for kickstarting a habit of reading the Bible. Because again, that's the goal of this course. It's not just to learn more about the Bible, but ultimately to start a habit of reading the Bible every day, or maybe almost every day. In fact, we want reading the Bible to be as normal for you as eating. As Jesus said in the passage from this unit's Bible mini-study, he says, "Man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Just as we eat out of habit, and if we die if we don't, we want to read the Bible out of habit as well. Here's how we could say it. Meditating on the Bible is like eating. You'll have a few meals you actually remember, but it's the thousands of meals you don't remember that keep you alive. You'll have a few meals you actually remember, but it's the thousands of meals you don't remember that keep you alive. You know, I can remember some of the best meals I've ever had, and those were significant meals for me. But honestly, it's the meals that I don't remember. I don't remember what I had for breakfast today or dinner last night. It's those meals that are keeping me alive. You're going to have the same experience with reading the Bible. You're going to have moments where you're reading the Bible that just overwhelm you, or you're just overwhelmed with God's love, or you're just convicted of sin in a powerful way, or you're challenged or inspired, or you leave motivated to do something. But most of the time when you engage with the Bible, not much is going to happen. But the reality is, it's just keeping you alive when you're doing it. In fact, if we are, at our church we say we're ordinary people learning to live everyday life like Jesus. You'll never be able to live everyday life like Jesus if we aren't meditating on the same scriptures that Jesus was meditating on. That's why we say this: meditating on the Bible is a spiritual discipline because it trains you in living everyday life like Jesus. The point of reading the Bible is not just to get good at reading the Bible. Just as the point of going to the gym isn't just to get good at going to the gym. That's why we call this a spiritual discipline. The point of reading the Bible is actually that we might know God and become more like Him. That it's actually training us to live the same kind of life Jesus lived, everyday life in God's unending kingdom. And so what I want to do is I want to give you 5 steps for kickstarting a habit of meditating on the Bible. And the first thing is this, is choose a plan. Choose a plan. One of the disadvantages of being a part of a non-denominational church like my own is that we don't have a common plan that everybody follows. If you go to an Anglican church, you'll often notice that they have a common reading plan that this is just what everybody, if you want to, here's a plan that everybody is reading, Anglicans all around the world. But in a non-denominational church like my own, we don't really have a reading plan like that. And so we often have to choose our own plans, which can be just as overwhelming as choosing a Bible. And while there are thousands of plans out there, I want to challenge you to try one of the following plans here. The first is a shorter plan created by the Bible Project that will take about 11 weeks. So shorter plan created by the Bible Project that will take about 11 weeks. And it will take you through the books of Luke and Acts. And we're going to make this available for download at bellevuechristian.church/Bible. And we're going to encourage you to try this immediately following this course. And it also includes some videos along the way that you can watch to help you understand better. And then when you finish that plan, if you decide to go for it, I also encourage you to try a 1-year Bible reading plan, also created by the Bible Project, that will take you through a few chapters and Psalms and a psalm every day. And this will allow you to read the whole Bible. And we're also going to make this one available for download as well. But there's a whole variety of plans you can do that you can just search online, just search Bible reading plans, or open the YouVersion app and check out some of those plans. But the first thing you have to do is choose a plan. You got to know where you're trying to go. The second thing is to get it on the calendar. Get it on the calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it's probably not going to happen. If it matters to you, you need to schedule it before you schedule anything else. Most people will often try to read the Bible in the morning or over lunch or at the end of the day when everything is settling down. But in the end, you got to just do what works best for you. There's a book by Justin Earley called The Common Rule. And in it, he recommends this practice. He recommends to practice Bible before phone. I find that to be really helpful. I do that myself. I've noticed that there's a huge difference in the start of my day if I leave my phone off in a different room than my Bible and I go to my Bible first in the morning. And so what if instead of checking social media in the morning, the first thing you did was read the Bible? So I encourage you to try that habit of Bible before phone. So choose a plan, get it on the calendar. And the third thing is to find some friends to read with you. Just like any other habit, the habit of reading the Bible is easier to start with friends. Think if you're trying to learn how to run, or you want to train for a marathon or something like that, you're going to find some people who want to do that with you because it's easier to do it with other people who can keep you motivated and accountable. So this might be as simple as finding a few friends and having a text reminder or a group chat. It might look like reading with some people from your small group or church, or even just with your family or your kids even. Or it might look like meeting up once a week to read together. But the idea here is find some people who can read along with you, who can check in to make sure you're still reading. The fourth thing is this then, is discover your why. Discover your why. If you don't know why this matters to you, then it's likely that you're going to quit when it starts getting difficult or it feels costly or your life begins to get busy. You want to write down what's motivating you to become the kind of person who reads the Bible every day. And this why is what's going to keep you going again when you're tempted to quit this habit. So your why might be to experience closeness to God. Your why might be to discover some changes that you want to make in your life, or simply just to be a better person. Your why might be to find out what it says for yourself, especially if you're skeptical. Your why might be to see if it's the kind of thing that you can build your life on. Your why might be to change how you start your day, or to become a better dad or mom, or to set an example for your kids. But write down why it is that you want to read the Bible every day and why you want to get into a habit of reading the Bible. And that why is going to help you push through the walls and obstacles that are going to come no matter what habit you start. Fifth thing then is to make it fun. Make it fun. Jon Acuff, who's an author and speaker, talks about this in his book, Finish, Give Yourself the Gift of Done. He says that if you actually want to get something done, you need to make it fun. I use that phrase all the time with my team at church. And in his book, he talked about how he would light his favorite candle whenever he would sit down to work on writing the book that he was writing, because that's his favorite smell. And so every time he would sit down to write his book, he would light this candle. And I'd encourage you to find something that works for you, something that can, maybe, again, but I think Bible reading is its own reward. But at the beginning, it's hard. And so maybe there are some things you can try. Maybe you could buy some of your favorite coffee and save it only for when you're reading the Bible. Maybe you could build in small rewards for a 5-day streak, or 5-day streak, where at the end you can go to your favorite coffee shop, or you can get a $1 slushie from Burger King. I literally write that down. You can, whatever you want to do, something, at the end of a 5-day streak, you can reward yourself with something. Or you could reward yourself at the end of a plan with purchasing a new Bible, like one of the Bibles we mentioned in a previous episode, and one that you'll really enjoy reading from. Or, if you remember Book It from the 1990s, you could maybe just give yourself a free personal pizza from Pizza Hut whenever you read through 100 chapters of the Bible or something like that. And so those are kind of my 5 steps that will help you kickstart a habit of reading the Bible every day. Choose a plan, get it on the calendar, find some friends to read with you, discover your why, and make it fun. Now I want to give you just a few final thoughts now on starting a habit that I think can be helpful. The first thing is this, is when you're starting, be more firm than flexible. Be more firm than flexible. Later you can be more flexible, but when you're starting a habit, you've got to be really firm with it. And it's, later when you get better, you got to know when to throw out reading the Bible for a day because of all extenuating circumstances. But when you're starting a habit, you need to be firm or it's never going to stick. Do whatever it takes to stick with it. Do whatever, even if you're reading the Bible at 11:59 p.m., whatever it takes to make sure that you read the Bible that day, if that's what your plan was. But when you're starting, be firm more than flexible. Another thing is that it's just a quote from Jon Acuff, is that the day after perfect is what separates starters from finishers. The day after perfect is what separates starters from finishers. This is another idea from Jon Acuff's book, Finish. You're going to have a day, as you have with every habit, where you fail, where you don't read the Bible, or where you run out of time, or you just simply forget. And it's going to be tempting to just throw out your plan and give up when that happens. And especially if you're a perfectionist, the perfectionist in you is going to say, well, it's all ruined now, you might as well just quit and restart next month or next year or whatever. But the reality is you can just start fresh the next day. That's why he says the most important day in starting any habit is the day after perfect. What happens when you mess up your streak? Are you going to pick up the next day and start again? That's what's really important with reading the Bible. It doesn't matter, getting the streak, or you don't have to wait till the next year to start fresh on New Year's Day. You can start fresh any day. Third thing is this, is that less is more. Less is more when it comes to reading the Bible. It can be tempting to think that reading the Bible is about quantity, but it's actually more about quality. It's better to read a lot less at a deep level than to read a lot more at surface level. Here's what Dallas Willard says, and this has always stuck with me. He says it's better in 1 year to have 10 good verses transferred into the substance of our lives than to have every word of the Bible flashed before our eyes. It's better to have 10 good verses transferred into the substance of our lives than to have every word of the Bible flashed before our eyes. If you really want to start to live everyday life like Jesus, take a few verses from the Bible, a few passages, really soak in them, meditate on them, and let them sink into who you are and begin to shape who you're becoming. Now, I want to add a caveat to that, and I would say that if you're just getting started in reading the Bible, I think sometimes it can actually be really helpful to read large swaths of Scripture at once, because sometimes you can get lost in the weeds and miss the big picture of a story. And so sometimes, I suggest, even if you're reading through a book of the Bible for the first time, try reading it from beginning to end in one sitting sometimes, because you'll see things that way that you might not see otherwise. But I would say long term, you have to think that less is more. Final thing is this, is to turn off the distractions. Turn off the distractions. There's a poet named Mary Oliver, and she says that attention is the beginning of devotion. Attention is the beginning of devotion. We live in a distracted age where it's easy to be reading the Bible for 1 minute, then you're checking your social media feed the next, and then you're doing something else before you even realize it, especially if you're trying to read the Bible on your phone. But you'll never get into the true depths of what the Bible has for you until you learn to turn off distractions. So I suggest no matter what you do, even if you're reading the Bible on your phone, find a way, there's a lot of apps out there that will keep you stuck in one app until, for a designated amount of time. Do whatever it takes to try to stay focused on what you're doing. Here's a final thought from Dallas Willard. He says, we will be spiritually safe in our use of the Bible if we follow a simple rule. Read with a submissive attitude. Read with readiness to surrender all you are, all your plans, opinions, possessions, positions. That to me, I think, is the final word for this. And it goes back to what we talked about in the last unit. Just have a readiness to obey. Read with readiness to be submissive and to surrender. So as we end, I really actually want to pray for you. No matter where you are and however you discover this course, I want to pray for you, because I believe that when people start reading the Bible, when churches start reading the Bible, it's amazing to see what God does through them. I want to see people who aren't just reading the Bible with their heads, but who are reading it with their hands and hearts as well. Nothing in this course matters if it doesn't actually lead you into engaging with the Bible. So let me pray for you now. God, I just pray for those who are taking this course. I pray that you would lead them into a habit of reading the Bible. Some of them are getting into it for the first time. Some of them are trying to get into it again. Lead them into a habit of reading the Bible. Make them hungry for the Scriptures. Give them moments where they can taste the Scriptures and taste who you are and want and long for more of it. Lord, I pray that they don't just get to know the Bible, but they get to know the author of the Bible as they're reading it. They get to know you as they're engaging with the Bible. And as they get to know you, Lord, I pray that you make them more like you, that you equip them, as 2 Timothy 3 says, for every good work. Give them endurance, perseverance as they're getting started on this habit. Anoint their reading. Open not just their eyes, but the eyes of their hearts as well to understand what you want to reveal to them. Just as Jesus did in Luke chapter 24, he opened their minds so that they could understand the Scriptures. Lord, I pray now for them as they engage with the Scriptures, as they read, that you would open their minds to understand. It's all in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen. Now, before you complete this course, I encourage you to write down one thing that resonated with you, or a question you had from this unit, or any lingering questions that you have from this whole course. And then the final thing is to complete the planning template for starting a habit of reading the Bible every day. We've taken those 5 steps. We've created a little template that you can use for making a plan of reading the Bible every day. That's it for the Everyday Bible course. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed these videos, be sure to press like so that other people can discover them as well. I hope you get started into a habit of reading the Bible every day, and that it accelerates your growth in everyday life like Jesus.